Hello, everyone. Welcome to 2020 Design Trends by UXPin. Today, on my short interview, I'm joined by Joe. Joe, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Joe Cahill. I have been doing design and user experience for 20 years. Started out as a print designer. I got the pleasure to work with some great clients over the years, most recently with American Express, Saks Fifth Avenue, MasterCard, and probably one of the most annoyingly happy people about doing design for this whole time. I've never not loved what I've done, and you're going to hear me talk a lot about it.
That's perfect, because we're going to talk about your point of view of design trends for 2020. And, not that I imply how old are you, but since you have 20 years of experience, what would you say about Generation Alpha coming to the picture? Because these are the kids that don't even remember, not having an iPhone or smartphone, like touch screen. Do you think that it's going to change the way people design stuff?
Oh, as Generation Alpha gets older and grows into this industry, their perspective is going to be so unique compared to how we've been doing it now. Like, we go back to, we had those Flash websites that were super bulky and heavy, and they would take forever to load, that we created loading screens for them. Like, now we're looking at mobile devices and we're getting annoyed after a 3-second load. Like, their level of looking for information instantaneously is going to be a key thing, and how they interact with the devices and everything that's going to go on around them. We don't even know yet. And that's the funniest part, is I have a lot of friends who have kids that are in their iPhones all the time or on their iPads, and they're telling me what they want inside of it. And I'm like, yeah, we're not there yet. I'm like, I like the energy though. But that's the thing, is that the world is going to be their oyster, because the technology is going to be something they're so used to. We're still trying to figure out, some of us who have been doing this for a long time, what can we do? Where does the hardware and the software kind of meet? And they're going to be so apt to knowing what the software is. A lot of them they're learning coding now. Yeah. It took me until I was 20 to learn coding. Yeah. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Let's build HTML sites and do MySpace updates. I know that just dated me, but that's the thing, is that they're going to learn coding like it's a part of their regular curriculum.
Sure. People in preschool learn coding now. So.
Yeah. They have that little toy, the Caterpillar, that rides around, that little kids can direct with actions. It's amazing. They're going to have, it's going to be, English might not even be a language anymore. The kids will just know code before they start talking, which I think is going to be amazing.
Do you think they will talk in ones and zeros to each other?
No, they'll get super, super logical. They'll be like, if this, then that. Can you please give me that F shirt over there, please?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's black.
It's black. Yes, very good.
Good for me. Okay, so once we started talking about colors, what do you think about Pantone's classic blue for 2020, or in general, having a color of the year?
So the funniest thing about Pantone, and knowing I'm somebody who knew that Pantone book, fun fact, I'm actually colorblind. So when I was doing print design, I memorized the Pantone book. So any designer that's worked with me, and if you're watching this, I would just yell out colors, and people would be like, what? And I'd be like, that red. And they're like, okay. But for them to pick out that blue, it was down. They were going to obviously have to pick a regular color at one point, but they did also just have a year where they added 100 and something new colors to their color portfolio, and none of those could be color of the year. I don't know. It's blue. It's,
Because there's a story behind it, because they said that this shade, the specific shade of blue, is very soothing, and we're living in crazy times, and everything is so hectic, that their statement is that maybe we should all just calm down.
Yeah. Every year our color should be blue then. Anybody who's been doing design long enough knows it's never not hectic.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things when you interview with a company is them saying, "Are you used to a fast-paced environment?" What's the alternative? Are there jobs out there that are not fast-paced? Because
Well, you're
yeah,
from Europe, so you have like different view.
it's true. My version of fast-paced is probably everybody else is like, "Why are you working so quickly?"
Probably so.
But guess what? All my layers are named. My files are tight. So no matter how fast we work, we still make sure that anybody can pick it up with no problems.
Joe, tell me, because we started talking a little bit about technology and how it's going to change and how it's going to, you know, like influence the design world. What do you think about AI coming to the scene? Like AI technology, not only like helping designers, but also designing itself.
It's an interesting thing. So Adobe has Sensei, right?
Uh-huh.
Which helps. They built it into Photoshop, so it like uses machine learning to figure out how to better retouch photos, take out backgrounds, and do all this, which is a great addition tool for us to use. So when we're doing stuff, like we can move quicker because fast paced. But like, I don't think it'll ever really. We could load it with information about how users interact with a site. We can load it in with information about how we expect people to react with it, but there's always going to have to be a little bit of a human element that our influence has to be there. So no matter how much AI helps us out, there's going to have to be a person on the other end saying like, here's my intuition. This is what my gut feeling says about this. Cause we have to test hypothesis. If we just have AI just running, making sites and running, making experiences, like nobody's going to have everybody might have a unique experience, but how unique will it really be? You know, granted, the machines will probably be smarter than us and just, you know, take over. Like this MacBook might just attack me at any point right now, but it's still the idea that like we still need somebody behind it. Like people the car manufacturing is now all automated, but there's still people who are in the factories working. You know, there's no way that we can always get away from the machines doing our jobs.
Yeah.
Except for a checkout, because those things kind of rock. Like, and that Amazon Go store, if you haven't checked it out yet, just scan a barcode, you walk in, you walk out. It's like stealing. It's amazing.
Like stealing. Is it though?
Yeah, it really is. Like you don't have to, there's like a clerk here and there, but like nobody's bothering you. Just grab a water, grab a sandwich, walk out. Look it up. It's amazing.
That's so cool. Yeah, but you know, like on the other hand, we have this huge need of you know, like human contact or human touch when it comes to branding, or even like in fashion. We would like, I don't know if you noticed that, but we would have like a huge billboard with a huge photo that is not photoshopped, and that's crazy.
Who would do that? Who would do that to the poor photo retouchers that are just sitting there waiting for something to come across their desk? Like, yo, guess what? We're not retouching any of these photos.
Yeah, well, they do that now.
Who does that? That's crazy. You still need to balance light and bring in skin tone and give it depth. I'm like, granted, our cameras are fly as hell now, but like, you know, there's always going to be need for somebody to breathe life into something. A little bit. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to take out all the wrinkles on my face, but like at least make me not look like I'm sick. Like,
well, you can do that with lightning, right? With lighting.
Yeah, but lighting. Then that's the thing. It all like going back to like how the iPhone's technology and Galaxy and the Pixel, like their technology of taking photos has grown exponentially in the last 10, 15 years, because we go back to like those Palm Trios and stuff that we used to take photos with. Still got really bad pictures from my Razor. It's all machine learning. It's all software that drives the quality. And even like for real photographers, like you'll look at it and you'll be like, this is a great image, but it still needs a little bit more to like bring out the richness in your day. Like you take a picture of a sunset, it's never actually what you see. It's always a little washed out, or the colors aren't balanced correctly. So like you might not get those vivids that you want to get, And that's when you give it to a nice little photographer who sits in Photoshop and makes it look as picturesque as you want it to be.
Well, but I swear to you that I've seen fashion photos, pictures that with girls with, like stretch marks and freckles and everything, which will, like, I don't know, like 10 years ago wouldn't happen. And
oh no, definitely not.
You look it up.
Oh no, I know that stuff would definitely not fly 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. But there's still, I'm guaranteeing there's still a little retouching. They might take out other things. But it's good for people to feel like we're looking at regular people too, though. Like, that's the thing, is that that's where all human experience comes from. It's, you want something that you're going to relate to. Like, that's why even from like a software end and the apps that we're all the time that really bump up the personalization, like, it's for me. Like, something, even when it listens to me and I say, oh man, I need laundry detergent, and then I see an ad like tied to my Instagram, like, it's still fine, because it'll be like, oh yeah, for me who has does a million things, you just be like, oh yeah, I got to remember to order that, and then put it in my Amazon cart, and then Amazon will remind me that I also need dryer sheets. And then it's like, but it still helps you out. They're almost like personal assistants in that way. But it is also that idea of like, it's still for you.
Uh-huh.
So when you're saying like these people who look like real people, which is great, it's because we can relate to it. Like, granted.
That's true. So that's like a business decision, right?
Yeah.
Might be. Or because, well, I strongly believe that this is the reaction of for the fast pace that we live in, and the technology developing so fast that we like kind of need to like balance stuff, and we need like the realness and human touch in our life as well. So that's my opinion on like why businesses would choose to go that way.
That's the nature of business. And that's the thing, is that sometimes they'll make moves that we kind of question, and then we kind of sit back and like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. We can go back way back to when Apple decided to make the move from Mac OS like 9.2.4 to OS 10, which was a Unix-based system. It was the big move to like a whole new UI, whole new experience. What we're used to seeing now in a Mac was brand new at one point, and developers were shitting their pants because it wasn't in the code base that they were working in. It wasn't built the same way it used to be. Like, what are they going to do? And for the people who are a little young, look up the story about what happened to Quark Express. It was a desktop publishing tool that was the tool. And they said, listen, Apple, I know this is what you're going to do, but we're not going to support it. So good luck. And they disappeared. Now we have InDesign. And it was like, they're still, actually, it's the lie. They're still out there. Anybody from Quark Express, if you're watching, I see you're still out there. I look you up every so often. But it was like InDesign, Adobe sat back and was like, listen, this is our people use this software.
Yeah.
They're not going to support it. So we have to carry on with the times. It's a tough thing to kind of change a code base for any developer who's had to migrate from old code to like a React code. Uh-huh. It's not easy. It's a big haul.
Well, people are talking more and more about designers learning to code, and that maybe there's going to be like merge, or at least this gap between design and development is going to be like less, or maybe like bridged somehow.
Absolutely.
There are tools coming, like for example at UXPin we have like those components that like translate the design directly into HTML or like code. I'm not an expert.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing. I feel like there's still always going to be a divide. There's always going to be people who are coders and people who are designers. But I feel like the understanding of what people do will get better.
Yeah.
When we started out and we were like designing websites, I learned how to code. Like, I learned HTML, I learned JavaScripting, I learned Flash, jQuery, because I felt like it helped me understand how I was going to build a design.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's still true now, like for designers, and especially the designers that I've worked with, like I tell them, like, you don't have to be a React developer, but understand how the component works.
Yeah.
Understand the parts around it. Like, go grab a drink with your developer and like pick their brain about things. And they're going to pick your brain about user experience, because despite our best efforts, people still think UX designers are visual designers. Like, they don't understand that there's psychology that comes with it. And when we talk in a room, it's not because we want to, it's because we have to, because somebody has to think about this. And it's cool because if you do want to do both, it'll be a great opportunity, because it's tough to learn coding. Like, you have to be in it to win it if you want to do it. But it's having the understanding of both ends is definitely the best part. Like, my thing is always design development, your partners in this. Like, if we're using the analogy of like a sports team, like, you guys have to work together for us to win. Like, it can't just be like, oh, so Super Bowl's next week, so for anybody who's watching this later, that's what time we're in. Like, you can't just have a quarterback take the ball back and then look for a running back who's over on the other side and be like, oh, we're supposed to run this play together, and you're not even here. Like, you have to be there next to each other in the trenches and have that vocabulary. Back in the day, like when we would do print design, you would meet with your printer and you would talk to them like, hey, how's this press work? How would you want your files? Like, does this run a little more blue on the blacks? Like, do I have to throw that in like my spot colors? Just having that relationship just changed the game across what we did 20 years ago and still to what we're doing now. Like, and I love having developers iterate with us because they have great ideas, because they're just like us. Like, we're all students of UX. That's my favorite thing to say. All of us have phones. All of us browse the web, unless you're like Amish and you don't do technology. But like, we all download an app and say, oh, this sucks, and then delete it. Or play a game and we're like, the controls are wonky. Like, why am I doing this? Like, this doesn't make sense. And like, we're all students of it. So it's like, we have an opinion about it. And it might not be the same like technical opinion from like an actual UX designer, but it would still be like, hey, so I was on this and I saw this and it didn't work. This worked really well and I enjoyed it. Can we use this? And then it's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's figure it out. Let's bring it to usability testing and then have a user tell us if they love it or hate it, you know?
Yeah. Well, and when you talk about how UX designers are the people who have to think about stuff, I'm pretty sure that accessibility and inclusive design is going to be a really strong trend in 2020. And I hope that it's not going to be like a trend that just comes and goes, but a necessity in future, because well, we have to be inclusive in our design, right? So it's like exactly what you said. Do you think it's going to be, like in for forever?
Yes, I think it's actually going to become way more part of that initial process of design. Like, the more we get used to having accessibility as part of our like vernacular, the easier it'll be for us to just build experiences effortlessly. Like, the idea of like color contrast, that was never a thing until somebody started talking about it. Yeah. And then everything you run through a plugin on Sketch or in Figma, that you just check your accessibility, make sure it's good. Make sure your color contrast is good. Now we're going to that part of using screen readers, of using sound, and now I just read a great article about haptic feedback on using in phones for accessibility. It's so important. It's got to be part of it. And the more I'm meeting designers, like, we all talk to each other on a constant basis. They're all telling me about the importance of accessibility. I just had met a bunch of people last night that their job was accessibility for UX at a big corporate environment. And I was like, so when they get sued, that they decide that they need this, because that's the trigger sometimes. Like, people don't know that this is really important until something happens, and we have to always be an advocate and say, like, listen, this is not going to pass this. How is this going to work with a screen reader? Again, educating the development end so they know that they're coding in a way that that's all accessible, but it has to be part of like our design process. Like we can't just build stuff just for the sake of building it. We have to realize how everything works. Great book, Mismatch. It's all about inclusive design. Always good to pick it up. You know.
Cool.
Yeah.
So thanks for the homework and and thank you for the entire interview. I guess our time is up, although I would love to talk to you more about your views on design and UX design and, like 2020 and what it's going to bring us. But for now, thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time out. This is great. To all the designers out there, keep being creative, and always remember to fight for your ideas, because they're not up to what we're doing yet, and they will get there eventually as long as we're all advocates for it. So thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.